Hello, everybody, and welcome to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. And I'm your host, BMR. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to Bigfoot, Michigan Rob on YouTube. Please subscribe to the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal podcast on YouTube. And, of course, Texas Front Porch found on YouTube. You can find us on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, KPNL Radio, and also wherever podcasts are found. If you like our content and want to help support what we do around here, the super chat is always available. The super thanks after the shows is available. And if you want to become a BMR pirate, you can join up and click that join button. You can check us on our About pages on YouTube for all upcoming and scheduled events. And, speaking about our scheduled events, everybody, thanks for coming on in. On Mondays, of course, is Texas Front Porch. You can find Tex and Brandi 7 Central, 8 in the East. Tuesdays is Beyond BMR with myself and Krista from the Blondes and the Booze, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Wednesdays, the Diva Dimension, 9 Central, 10 in the East on Texas Front Porch. Thursday afternoon with myself. And, I don't know moving forward who's going to be joining me. Tex, once again, is having his work schedule discombobulated. But anyway, Brunch with Bigfoot Rob is every Thursday, 12 Central, 1 in the East. And the Blondes and the Booze tonight, every Thursday night at 9, Brandi, Krista, the Blondes and the Booze Paranormal podcast. That comes on, of course, 8 Central, 9 in the East. And if you need more woo with the Booze, they're back at you Friday night with the Blondes, the Booze, and the Woo on their channel. Again, they come out 8 Central, 9 in the East. And Tex, if you're into true crime, Tex says Infamous Minds. It's on Saturday. It's 2 Central, 3 o'clock in the East. I've got the lovely Brandi from Missouri joining me this afternoon, and I'm going to bring her up in a moment. But before that, a couple other brief announcements for everybody. And, of course, Bigfoot Michigan Rob presents True Cryptid Encounters Book 1. Again, everybody that's bought it, thank you ever so much. When Amazon comes calling, please leave a review because it's all analytics these days, and it does help sales of the book. And the book link is pinned at the top of the chat. You can also find it on this video and, of course, on my About page. And I know that, no one's thinking about conferences. And it is a quick mention, though, because June 7th and 8th, 2024, the Alabama Bigfoot Conference is taking place in Anniston Performing Arts Center. Tex Weston, of course, is going to be the master of ceremonies. Great speakers, including Bart Nunnally, Daryl Denton, the Blondes and the Booze, Jason McLean, Greg Ogles, Martin Gross, and yours truly, BMR. Tickets online, $30, $35 at the door. And we're doing on the 7th a meet and greet type of thing. I don't know the details. Maybe I'll have Brandi talk about that a little bit when I pull her up here in a second. So thanks to everybody for coming on in and spending the day with us. And let me take down this really quick. Here we go. And I'm going to bring up the lovely Brandi. Hello, Brandi. Can you hear me?
Oh, hey there.
Well, hi. Yeah, you were on a delay, and I'm like, oh no, give me a break. Brandi lost your internet already?
Yeah, I'm having a few issues right now. I'm like, what is going on?
Well, nevertheless, I think it's going to work out just fine. You
Yes.
live kind of in BFE, and we all. But a show wouldn't be a BMR show if we didn't have any technical issues. This seems to pop up now and again,
Yeah, you never have any problems, ever.
Yeah, none of us have problems. So let me ask, are you all set for Christmas? Is it kind of like, whatever, or did you get everything you need to get done already?
Yeah, everything's done. everything's done, and it's all set and ready to go for Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So I feel good about that because normally I'm rushing around, but this year I think I got it in check.
Yeah, I'm finally done with all the rushing around. In fact, a little later today after the show, maybe around 5 o'clock, I think, having a small little party. My brother's coming by, my sister-in-law, my niece, nephew, her boyfriend, my mom, and we always do it right before Christmas because on Christmas Eve I go over to my brother's house, so it's all good. I got everything done. We're all ready to roll. I'm always excited about it, and so everybody out there, this will be. I'm going to say Merry Christmas to everybody because you won't see me again until the 26th with Krista
Right?
Tuesday night. And we don't have a guest schedule for tonight or actually next Tuesday because everybody's busy with the holidays, which is understandable. But we typically have good shows with guests or not. And so I'm kind of excited about this. And
Right?
and I got to tell you, it all started for me like last Tuesday. If you guys missed the live show with Sibylla Irwin, we unveiled my Bigfoot sketch. And as I told everybody that saw the show, it's like 93 to 95% accurate. So I did that. And then I got a lot of comments. Hey, Rob, where can I find the video of your encounter? Because I've told my encounter story on many platforms, podcasts, YouTube channels, but it was a good point because I didn't have that on my YouTube channel. So I dropped that last Saturday. And then last night I was on Bart Nunnally's and we again did the encounter story. And again, for me, it kind of crept up on me. I'm like, wow, I've been doing this for a while. And tonight we're going to talk a little about it. I'm going to show the renditions a little bit. I want to get your thoughts because you weren't on the show Tuesday and I kind of want to get your feedback. And we're not, the whole show's not going to be on that. We're going to go through some things, talk about it, and we're going to move on about, we'll come up with some other things to talk about for this time of year, so on and so forth. And Dave Scott, thank you. I hope you like my Christmas bandana, Dave. Merry Christmas, Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. Go show him some love and subscribe if not already. I couldn't get Dave on this year because our schedule's conflicted. He's normally one of my fabulous Christmas guests, but we'll catch Dave down the road. Thanks, Dave, for joining. Thanks for everybody for coming on in and joining this evening. So yeah, Brandi. So when I did my encounter score with Sibylla Irwin and show the rendition, what was I'm going to show that here in a few minutes for everybody. But what was your first thoughts? Everyone's heard the story, right? The trauma that I went through and how I went in a dark spot. But when I show the actual renditions from Sibylla, again, they're as accurate as you can get for a drawing. What went through your mind when you think about the story and then you can now put a face behind the story?
Well, I mean, I've heard your story. I mean, we've even talked about it at other times and things like that, but you described it so perfectly that I could picture it in my head. And it was phenomenal that Sibylla could bring that to life. You know what I mean? It was like, at first, when you're looking at the first rendition that she did make before, it did its screaming thing. But when you look at it, it looks like it would be docile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this creature was just looking at you like it could do nothing wrong. Like it was just checking you out and seeing what was happening. But when you describe what had happened after that, like its face contorted and it turned into this something else, almost looking demonic thing. When she did her drawing, it made it that more terrifying. It just, because you told me about it, but I could not just picture it like that. But when she did it, it completely amazed me how completely hideous and scary this thing was. You know what I mean? It was, I don't even know really how to explain it. She did the perfect job. I mean, you explained it, but she brought to me how terrifying and how just weird this thing was.
And I got to tell you something too about that whole scenario. I've talked about this ad nauseum, and again, I'm not going to bring this up now for another year, right? And I was on Bart and Nunley's Inhumanoid show last night, and I was going through the entire encounter thing. We did the show Tuesday. I dropped the video Saturday, and I got to tell everybody that I kind of I lost it a little bit, didn't I? Not last night. Last night I
You
had
did.
tears. I had some tears in my eye. Um, maybe the Novocaine had something to do with it because I sat in a dentist chair for like 3 hours. But I just went back to that day and I relived that day. And of course, the death of Cindy probably was the emotional part. Because I will tell you this, had Cindy not passed 2 months later, that encounter was fabulous. Terrifying, yet something I'll never forget. But now it's enhanced when tragedy struck. And that I'll never ever forget. And and that's why I do these shows, created the channel, wrote the book, because people need to be aware. People that suffer trauma from incidents like this, I feel now today, I kind of was like reborn in a sense where it's my job to bring their stories to life because I walked alone for 6 months with no help from anybody. Did not know what I experienced the loss of a loved one, and I didn't go to work for 6 months. You know, told my manager, "Hey, lock the place up, or no, keep it open. I'm not coming in. Don't know when." And so for me, I'll never forget it. It's kind of bittersweet for me. And hello to everybody in chat. I love you. I can't get to all of you right now. Concentrating on this. And here's the thing. I think this is for a purpose, right? And for those of you just joining on in, thanks Dave Scott for the shortbread, shortbread cookies. Great guy. I love Dave, good friend of mine. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up some of the iterations right now that Sibylla did, just to get this started, get this moving. And people know that when I had my encounter, it looked like a humanoid. It looked like a disfigured person, a person with Down syndrome. Very odd. It looked like he went through a war, right? And then it metamorphosed into like a demonic presence. Scared the bejesus off me. Set out this roar, this scream, this yell. Cindy falls off the boat into the water. I'm paralyzed. I can't move. The beautiful blue of the sky dulled. Everything turned like black and white. I was like time was frozen for me. And so I'm gonna move on and I'm gonna pull up. What I'm gonna do is for everybody, this is from Sibylla Irwin, everybody. And I just got to get to it really quick. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to show the up close facials. I'm just going to show you. Well, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. This is the up close of this creature that I first saw. For everybody that hasn't seen it, you're going to see it right now. So this is the humanoid looking disfigured thing. It's 95% accurate, everybody. And when I describe this thing, Down syndrome, offset eyes, the grayish, scaly skin, the flowing reddish hair, right? This thing, again, look at that. And it looks like this guy went through a war. But that's what he looked like to me that day in June 15th, 2018. So, Brandi, when you've heard the story and you imagine that and you visualize in your head, what the hell did Rob see? Did you come close to that? As you made mention, you thought it kind of looked kind of close in your own mind.
Yeah, I'm telling you that this picture right here, it's almost like spot on to what you described to me. It is absolutely 100% what you told me.
And I will
This is
tell
what I pictured that it would be. Everything in it is exactly what you said.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And Sibylla, I got to give her all the credit. We spent we spent hours on this and months, and she's such a great artist that it took us like 3 hours just to get the eye. She started with the eyes, and just to get the eyes, I'm not kidding you, it took a couple hours. It did. We spent several hours. We aired a lot of time together, going
Hmm.
back and forth. And as I described it, and she wanted to make it perfect. And I always tell people that It's not ever going to be 100% because, you had to be there.
Right.
But when I tell this story and when I reflect back in my mind, and for the viewing audience, this is what I want them to picture when I tell these stories about my encounter. This, you guys, is what I saw. And
Yes.
I'm not retelling my story. A lot of people know it, but this is what it looked like. It was at the shoreline on Lake Mitchell in Cadillac, Michigan. And it was kind of standing there. Now I'm going to show what it looked like standing from the shore. And okay, check it out right here. And it strikes me peculiar. It stood with the arms on the side like that face. And if you look at this, and we did this purposely from my memory, if you notice the right arm is kind of straight, the left arm's got a little bicep there. You see that powerful stomach and chest. And
Right.
then the thighs go down, they're kind of thick. But then if you notice too, despite the muscles in the calves, they're not proportionate with the body. And every time I look at this is an oddity. And someone had suggested that maybe it was inbreeding, there just wasn't something quite right, or maybe this was a real old one. And yeah, I mean, I've seen many renditions of Bigfoot, but nothing quite captures the frame of this. I don't study anatomy, obviously, but compared to other renditions I've seen, this struck me as odd too, if you think about the skeletal structure of this being,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
My first thought is when you were telling me, I'm thinking this is more of a birth defect. Um, and now what that was caused by, that's anybody's guess. But
right.
I mean, just like all animals and humans alike can have birth defects that maybe that the fetus didn't grow as it should have, or whatever. But this is what it looks like to me, is that there was definitely a birth defect. I don't necessarily believe that it could be inbreeding, because we believe them to be smarter.
Good
um
point.
I don't think that this is the cause of that. I think that this is just an actual birth defect.
Yeah, that could be. And again, when I did the show last Tuesday, I've got a million comments on people's theories, which I can bring up here in a little bit. But I think I kind of figured out what I saw, then I go back to the drawing board because I really don't. And now I always refer to this as my Bigfoot encounter, but I will tell everybody listening, and I've said this at nauseum, I'm not so sure it's an actual Bigfoot. And the reason I say that is now I'm going to show the picture of the metamorphosis when it turned when it turned into what I describe as a demon. So everybody, this is what it transferred into. It drops its jaw, it yells, screams, and roars. My girlfriend flips off the boat, and I get paralyzed with something because we got hit with some sonic boom. So here it is, the metamorphosis, and I will also do the side by side. But here's just the here it is. I mean, look at that. The gray skin all of a sudden is pulls taut, opens that, exposes these fangs, it appears to be. The eyes roll black, and this is when it's yelling and screaming now, everybody. This is what it more metamorphosized into. I don't know a human being on this planet that can process this
Mm-mm.
at all. I still can't process this.
No, like I said, you described it, what this thing was doing. But I couldn't picture that in my head. I just, I didn't realize that it was this terrifying. Um, that's why when you showed me this, I was like, wow, that really puts it in perspective of what you were saying, that its total face just morphed into something else.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean this is a total flip. Now what I'm going to do is I put together the side by sides because I think it'd be cool to show it pre and post, right? And so here's the side by side of this thing. course, BMR's Bigfoot, the humanoid, and then, well, you can't see, I got my banner at the bottom, then the Metamorphosis, the demonic looking thing. Artwork, of course, by Sibylla Irwin. So look at that, Brandi. The only thing that stays the same is probably the bridge of the nose, perhaps. It stays the same. But look at the
Yeah.
taut skin. It gets that deep, almost grayish purple look, the rolling black of the eyes. You notice how the jaw drops down. This thing was all of 9 foot tall, and I guarantee you can't really, you could fit a softball easily in the mouth of this thing.
Right.
Now, if you look at, but look at the difference. Do you see any semblance at all
No.
outside? You know,
Just just a little bit in the eyes that are a little bit offset, but
Mhm.
everything else is physically changed.
Yeah, it's like when I say metamorphosis, everybody, it metamorphosed. It night and day. The one on the left
Yeah.
kind of looks like kind of even I dare not to use the word docile because frankly it's still creepy, but it does look like kind of like a human. But the thing on the
Yeah.
right does not look human at all.
Right. Like the one side looks like it would be non-aggressive.
Correct. And
Non-aggressive.
a lot of the Bigfoot encounter stories we come across that I've gotten and heard on many shows, Space Out Radio, Blondes and Booze, Texas Front Porch, over there, Josh Turner, whoever.
Mhm.
Bigfoot is normally not that aggressive where it yells and screams at you like that. I think when you hear a whoop or a sound, it's wants you just kind of to make their presence felt and maybe to tell you to go somewhere else, leave us alone, right? This thing,
Right.
I tell you, if I was on land, I don't know that I'd be talking today. I don't know what the intent from this thing was, but I certainly felt that it was demonic. And people that think that the Bigfoot is the friendly forest giant, I guess in a lot of instances, it's perhaps it's true. Unfortunately, for my first encounter, I don't. That's not my opinion today, and that's unfortunate for me. And again, if I didn't experience the loss of a loved one, maybe my attitude would be different. And I'm going to put up the last rendition about how it raises arms parallel to the water when it let out the roar and the scream. Here it is. So yeah, so as I'm standing 90 feet away from the shoreline, you can see it stood there. And look at that. Look how long the arms are. And I always explain how it had a fringe look, how it came down from the arms, flowed down. It almost looks like it could have flown away or something. It kind of looks like feathers or wings, you know?
Right. Right. It does. It does. But it also reminds me of a posturing stance of like trying to make itself appear to look bigger. You know how we would like in bears they say, "Hey, flap your arms, make yourself bigger than the bear to scare it off." You know, and that's a big thing. It's like you yell and scream and you've got your arms waving. You're trying to make yourself appear to be bigger than, than the bear, but I this is such a mystery to me because this is like this whole story is different. You know what I'm saying? It's different than that. It's different than most stories that we hear about.
Okay. No,
We,
it is. Again, if you refer back
because
to
normally if we go ahead.
no, if we refer back to again, as I mentioned a little earlier, when you hear about most Bigfoot encounters, they're pretty docile. I mean, they're not terrorizing. This to me was terrorizing me, you
Correct.
know? Now,
Correct.
yes, now are Bigfoot aggressive and a lot of people's first encounter, second encounter, what have you? Yeah. But I think it's just a way to say, hey, listen, I'm here. Do me a favor, get out of here and don't bug us. You never hear now this thing really let's be honest, it didn't attack me, but it certainly threatened me. And what I experienced when I got that sonic blast, hi Duke. Duke always calls it a sonic boom. I felt that. And again, my vision went almost to black and white. I mean, and time stood still. My girl falls off the boat, and I felt that. I mean, from the depth of this thing's lungs, the guttural projection that went 90 feet from shore to boat, you don't hear a lot of stories like that. You do hear stories too about some cryptids perhaps changing their look a little bit, but nothing that where it totally flips from one to the other.
Correct.
And I think you're correct about it was made itself bigger to look threatening to get us out of there. But my thing is this, Brandy. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I wasn't in its space. I was offshore fishing. I don't think I was in his hunting zone. I don't think, he was coveting his fishing spot. Lake Mitchell, Lake Cadillac is humongous. It backs up to the Manistee National Forest. There's plenty to eat. So I don't know. It's perplexing, you know.
Well, I don't know if you can hear me. Like I said, I've got gremlins going on with
I
my
can hear you.
internet.
You're good.
Um,
You're only about a second behind. That's all.
okay. Okay. But you don't know what you took your boat into. Now, if it had been protecting their young, or if it were protecting other, clan members or family members or whatever you want to call them, you don't know it's all in what you couldn't see, why it reacted that way, I think. I mean, that's only my personal opinion, but I think that it's what you couldn't see was the problem.
That's true. And no, wink at me. She says the first one looks kind of female. Did you see male genitalia? No, not that I was looking. And again, I wasn't trying to process. That hair was flowing. I mean, even in the picture, I wouldn't have had genitalia in the picture just because I wouldn't have done that, but not that I noticed. So, but yeah, I just assume it was a male. And World Bigfoot Radio, because I talked to Robin McCrae about this, and she has actually communicated with my Bigfoot. Actually, it was a great show we did last year, and she says that this entity, this Bigfoot, alleged Bigfoot, there was kids in the area, and perhaps I
Mhm.
don't know, were they swimming out underwater, frolicking about? I don't know, but I think that she makes a good point where I think it maybe was protecting something. Perhaps it was kids, right? Or young Bigfoot. We
Right.
won't know
Well,
the answers to that.
there's another theory we can go on with this. You're talking about looking. It looked like it had Down syndrome or something similar, or you know, it could have had a mental illness, something that didn't develop quite right, just as if its body didn't develop quite right. Because you can see that from the picture, one side is clearly muscular and the other side is not so much. But think about this, that maybe it seeing you was a trigger. Maybe it hadn't seen a human, maybe this was something new for it and didn't know how to react. It may have been scared, and that's all it knew how to do.
And I think that's a great point. I agree with that. And it was very interesting the other night when I was talking with Barton, and it came up about how it had the metamorphosis, and then we got hit with that sonic blast. I don't think it was infrasound because I've never heard infrasound that projects such power. It was something other, perhaps, or infrasound taken to another level. I'm not a scientist. I can't get into that.
Yeah, who's
But
who's to say what it would do over
who
water?
yes, and 90 feet out, but it was very robust, right? But this was something I didn't think about, which I think is something to entertain because as most people that heard the story, unfortunately, Cindy passed away 2 months later. When a metamorphosis from that creepy old looking person, humanoid, into that beastie, demonic looking thing, do you think that, we've all heard about exorcisms, how
Mhm.
the priest goes in, performs his exorcism. And a lot of times in these stories we hear the devil, the demon inside the person. is taken on by the priest. They take on the entity, the demon, to save the person. It was a good point, something I never thought about. Perhaps when it did this, it was projecting its illness, its sickness, whatever it had inside into Cindy's body. And Cindy's body perhaps became the host of what maybe troubled this entity. She got the sickness, and then all of a sudden she's gone. Because if you think about it, I was doing some further research in the areas of Lake Cadillac, or I should say Wexford County. Wexford County's got a dog man, a lot of Bigfoot sightings. Maybe, just maybe, this was part of an ancient sighting or an ancient land, and perhaps this thing was cursed. And the only way to remove itself of the curse was to project it onto somebody else. I don't,
Right.
you know, and I thought that I never thought of that. And I'm like, wow, that's actually it has my wheels spinning in my head. Did this thing release its sickness onto a human? And then Cindy is all of a sudden couldn't take it and and then again left the earth.
Yeah, I'm here's another thing. They always talk about skinwalkers, okay? And how a skinwalker can mimic another animal, you know, anything it wants to, it can mimic that. But there's something about a skinwalker that cannot mimic exactly. You can't, it cannot create what we would say a doppelganger. Okay.
Yeah.
It can't produce an exact copy. So maybe, just in theory, that this thing was a skinwalker in which its face was a little distorted, and to you it looked like it had Down syndrome, but it was just replicating what it had seen to scare you. I mean, that's a possibility. That's a possibility, and it morphed into this other thing because skinwalkers can do that. I mean, that's just another theory.
Yeah, there's so many thoughts and so many theories. And again, that's a good one. I tell you, after Tuesday's show, I had so many people giving me their first of all, thank you for everybody for offering condolences. I do appreciate that, and your opinion, your thought, your theory, whether you're a researcher or a novice. I BMR really loved the response I got on that, and I don't know what it does for me after going over this last couple of days now, revisiting this. I'm still as confused as I was 5 years ago. You know,
Yeah,
because
because you don't.
it's like information overload. It really
Yeah,
is.
you don't have any definitive answers, and that's our problem. Is we as humans need answers, and sometimes it becomes exhausting, when you keep trying to figure it out, you keep trying to figure out, and the more you look, and the more you try to educate yourself, the more questions you have. It's like never ending, and that's exactly where I'm at right now. It's just never ending.
It is never, and I gotta say, we'll kind of retract off of this for a little bit because I had my, of course, encounter. Now, somebody else I know two other people most recently had an encounter,
Mhm.
and it's little Brandy sitting here. Yours was unlike mine.
Yeah, mine was, to me, it's very similar to a lot of stories, but the fact that I had about 45 seconds of staring at this thing
Yeah,
is what kind of sets it apart. But I didn't have daylight to really observe what this thing looked like. I mean, I had moonlight. It was coming from the back of it, so I could just see the, a pretty good shadow. Now it was 20 feet away from me. So I could get a good look at most of it. But its features, I couldn't see it. So I don't know if that scared me more, that I mean, I could see the shape of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess it didn't really scare me. I want to say that it just made me stop and think about, is this exactly what I'm looking at?
Yes. And now when you saw yours, you were inside your truck, right? Or your vehicle?
Yeah, I was inside my car. I was actually sleeping. I
Yeah.
was sleeping, and I hadn't been sleeping that long.
And did you not, now again, you're gonna have to, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but did you first notice it up by your window or in back of the car, or did you see it immersed from the wood line? The shadow, the
Well,
big
actually,
shadow.
I didn't see. I just seen it standing there. What had happened is I was in my car and I was sleeping, and I kind of heard a tapping on the front hood of my car. So I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm thinking it's residual rain. It's whatever coming from the trees, da 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 da. And so I just kind of like started dozing back off, and then I could hear footsteps going around the car. Now, me thinking that it's one of the ladies getting up, I'm like, well, no lady goes to the bathroom alone, so I'm going to sit up in my car. Well,
Mhm.
me being groggy, I kind of set up real easy, and I start looking around, and the tent's not open. There's not anybody in sight. And that is off to my left hand side. I'm looking out my driver's side window, and I'm looking over at our tent. And there's nobody there. There's not a light on, there's nothing. And I would have seen a light, but there was nothing. That's when I looked off, to my right hand side out the passenger window, and it was standing behind a tent on the right side of my car.
Yeah,
It wasn't walking. I didn't see it emerge,
right.
but you know, I'm almost positive that's what I heard walking.
Well, in fact, though, Brandy, too, that was your experience. And correct me if I'm wrong. Throughout that night, now you guys were where you guys were camping was kind of like a meadow with like a horseshoe, and it was like all the grass was cut. You had all your vehicles and tents there, and the wood line surrounded all of you, right? Kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah, I mean, the grass was kind of brush hogged. It's been that way for a while. I mean,
Yeah.
the grass and weeds were still kind of high out there. And we were in a meadow that was our base camp, um, which we would start hiking up into these hills and everything when, at nighttime. But we were down in kind of like an opening of these little foothills. And it was cold out there. It had been damp every other night, like the dew point was crazy because everything was wet in the morning. It was just crazy. And then we had that storm come in on that final night we were there, and, caused just a ultimate disaster out there. Everything went flying. At
Yeah.
least we didn't lose the coffee pot. That's all I got to say. We didn't lose the
Yeah.
coffee pot.
Well, that's the important thing. Never lose the coffee pot.
That's
Never.
right.
But
Right.
but another cool thing too, I don't know how long you guys were there for the weekend, perhaps it was, but you weren't the only person though that had an experience. Other people, there's more to this than just you, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, Krista actually had the first, um, I would say, experience encounter from when she was in her tent. Her and I are basically the same. We'll play on her phone. We'll, get tired, and then we'll go to sleep. We'll just wind down, go to sleep. Um, but at that point, she turned off her phone, and then she could hear something walking around. And when she looked up, because of the moon, because like I said before, when I saw it, the moon was kind of in back of us, but you can see the silhouette coming through the tent. She said you could see probably about mid arm all the way up to the cheek line. And
Mhm.
she said, that is not human. because she could see it plain as day. And not once, but twice she saw it because it was walking. And then when it kind of went into where it was shaded a little bit and came out from the moonlight, she saw it again. And they could hear it walking around, in the back of the tent. Which brings us to a weird, a funny point, because Krista, not long before that, had went out and used the restroom behind the tent. Because the porta johns were super far away, and we're just not going to walk that. So she'd use the bathroom out there, which made me stop and think. It was hanging out there for quite a bit.
I think
Quite a bit.
it was observing everybody, right? I mean, it was
Yeah.
probably there for your entire stay. It was
It,
probably
it,
I bet you maybe it was
and
at
it
a
was.
distance, and slowly as the week went on, got a little closer and closer, took some chances, right?
Right. So this brings me to another part of the story. Now, this happened, like, I think 2 days before. There was another woman and her husband camping in a tent, and she had to use the bathroom. Of course, it's late at night, and she goes out behind the tent to go, and then she notices a silhouette, and she kept looking at it and looking at it, and it wasn't moving. And she's like, that, it just kind of freaked her out. She got a weird feeling from it. So she went back in the tent, and she goes, she started telling her husband, and he's like kind of making fun of her, how skeptics do. And he was kind of making fun of her and all this other kind of stuff. Well, on that Sunday morning, when we all got together and everybody started telling their stories, well, she started telling that story, and I finished her description of the thing that she saw. It was the exact one that I had seen that night standing behind that tent. So there's somebody else who saw it. It just wasn't on the same night, but it had been there hanging around. And because of the rain, and it softened up the grass that had been sitting out there and all this other kind of stuff, and the wind had blown the trash everywhere and taken tents with it and everything else, it thought maybe this is a good time to come check it out. Even though we were up later than we normally were, it was, like I said, it was after 3 a.m. when this happened, and we were up till about 2.
Yeah.
Just because of the storm and picking up stuff and blah blah blah. It just came in. But the thing was, is we weren't all sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Because normally at that point we'd all be sleeping. Everybody would be sleeping. But at this point, because of what happened, we weren't. And this thing, you can actually follow the tracks. Now, these tracks were approximately 14 inches long, and it's like a push trail. You can see where it would pick up its foot and then move, and then pick up its foot and move. You can actually see it moving through, the whole entire camp.
Mm-hmm.
And as we got together, there were people hearing this thing walking.
Yeah.
And the timeline matches up to everything that had happened.
Right.
So I got very lucky that I got to see it. But I also had people backing me up of what they saw, what they heard, like Krista seeing the silhouette through the tent, and then what I heard walking around my car, and then where I saw it at the next tent. Well, the guy in the next tent, he heard it walking around right at the same time I was watching it. And it just went so on and so forth, all the way down the tree line. So it was amazing. It was an amazing thing. I just wish I could have saw it better. I wish I could have recognized what I was seeing when I saw it. It wasn't a bad encounter.
Yeah.
But then again, I felt very vulnerable by seeing that this thing was only like 6'5", but when we measured it, it measured under 7 foot. But so I was very close. But seeing this thing and then seeing the size of it made me rethink about how safe are we really out there.
Well, not safe at all.
And then when I see, when I see the pictures that Sibylla drew, I'm thinking, see, that's why. That's what made me feel vulnerable, is because the sheer size of the thing And then
Yeah,
when you put a face to it, that makes it even crazier. But like I said,
and
I'm going to keep
e
searching.
yeah, oh, absolutely, and even at 6'5", that's a tall. It's an athlete, right? It's a sports athlete. Basketball
Mhm.
players are taller,
Right,
but I know that this had to have immense girth. I mean, it was all of 800 to 1,200 pounds. What I saw was at least 1,200 pounds. I'm
right.
imagining yours wasn't 6'5", 225.
No, no,
You know what
absolutely
I
not.
mean?
No,
Yeah. So
no.
did you? So I might have missed it. I apologize. So all this is going around. You know what's happening. So did you guys venture into the forest or into the woods and look for any tracks or anything like that? I don't know if you mentioned that earlier.
We didn't have to venture into the woods to look for tracks. This is the amazing part. If you just followed the path that it was walking, because we were so lucky that it
Mhm.
was in high grass. We were so lucky. And you could see where it came in from the tree line and walked all the way around our camp and then went out into the dry creek bed. It it
Okay.
it couldn't have happened any better than that. Because
Yeah.
you didn't see it stop and turn around. You didn't see another set of footsteps. You didn't There was nothing. It just went straight, and you can see where it would falter and kind of be looking like where it stopped in the back of the tent that was next to me when I'm looking out my passenger door. And where it was standing, you could see where it kind of like wobbled a little bit, and that must have been where I was seeing it kind of sway back and forth, like it was looking around, contemplating what it's going to do next. I mean, I can only speculate that that's what it was going to do, but that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah.
It was like confused on, should I move ahead or should I stay or should I go back to where I came from? I'm not sure. Because like I said, we weren't all sleeping because we had already been up from uh taking care of all the stuff that had happened from the storm, because it was kind of like a freak storm that just kind of straight line winds came in, and everything that was in the middle of camp was pretty much gone. Everything that was along the tree line was saved, but everything that was out in the middle of that meadow was gone.
I just thought. Thanks, Duke. Duke Sullivan, everybody. Subscribe, World Bigfoot Radio.
Thanks, Duke.
And Duke, man, I told you your book is somewhere caught in traffic here at the Detroit shipping. So I know you didn't get in time for your birthday. I'm sorry, man, but you know it's coming. Thanks, Duke. Um, I got a. So you've heard my encounter. We just heard yours. You've heard many other encounters. You and Krista now. You guys are paranormal investigators, but now you're also into the cryptid scene. You investigate that. You guys have a great show, Bonds and Booze Paranormal Podcast, Thursday and Friday nights at 9 in the East. I know you get this question, and I always like to ask the question. Your thoughts. I kind of have an idea where you're going to go with this. But for the listeners, in your mind, again, you forget about mine, but from what you saw and what you've heard, you think Bigfoot, Sasquatch, flesh and blood animal type of being, or do you think there's something else involved? Ethereal, paranormal, whatever verbiage you want to use.
That is such a hard question,
It
only
is.
because of what I have physically seen, that I would say just based on that
Mhm.
would be all flesh and blood.
Right.
But I've also had reports from people very close to me that would have no reason to lie to me, that I find them very truthful and I would trust them with my life, have
Hmm.
told me other things that are just not flesh and blood. So, I'm kind of on the fence about it. I know for a fact there are people out there that have abilities, um, that are just not regular people. I mean, your clairvoyance and all kinds of things. And I know a few that are really legit. And I think that that is a gift. But if you really want to base it on that, I think there's other things. It's like I know that people have seen like orbs and things with Bigfoot and blah blah blah.
It's always a UFO. You get many reports, many stories, many encounters, orbs.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden, a Bigfoot appears. A UFO, Bigfoot appears.
Mm-hmm.
And you get the Bigfoot that came out of a portal, or it manifested out of a tree stump.
Right.
And then you get the average Bigfoot crossing the road. Look like a big giant person covered hair crossed the road. What I saw looked like a big giant person, but a weird looking person, right? But
Mm-hmm.
then in my experience, it went all sideways, And that's the thing about this subject that is always going to be prevalent,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's so many unanswered questions. Yeah, there's researchers out there that know certain things. There's also researchers out there that refuse to think anything otherwise other than Bigfoot's just this animal. It's an aper. I'm definitely not in the aper camp.
No.
I'm not. Do I think that Bigfoot? There's species out there. There's some that are probably mostly flesh and blood, but they've got these unique. They all to me have something unique about them that makes them superhuman, if you will.
Right.
But with that being said, we are coming up on the 5-minute break for our podcast. So we got to cut, make some time for that. And for everybody, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Don't go anywhere. Refresh your drink. Get some Christmas cookies, whatever it is that you do. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do here in a minute. And Brandi, we'll be back after I can find. Here it is. It says blondes and booze for some reason, but.
nightmares in my head, I fear that the thoughts build up until I can't hear, that my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, a fantastic show with the lovely Brandi from the Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast. Please subscribe to them on YouTube. Special thanks, Dave Scott, for the tremendous super chat. Dave Scott, Monday through Friday, Spaced Out Radio, 12 Eastern Standard Time. He also has weekend shows with Jessica Jones and Robbie G. Go check him out. Dave Scott, Spaced Out Radio. Thanks again, Dave. Thanks for everybody for coming on in and spending your afternoon with us. We do appreciate it. Of course, the super chat is open. Great way to help support what we do around here. Become a BMR pirate today. Join up. You get a little, you get a picture of me in a bandana. Thanks for everybody who bought my book, Bigfoot Mr. Rob Presents True Cryptid Encounters, Book 1. You can find that on Amazon. Thanks for those who bought it. Those of you, when the Amazon comes a calling, they're going to ask to leave a review. Leave a review. It's all analytics these days. Chevy Chase once said, it's all ball bearings in that movie Fletch. Well, it's all analytics when it comes to promoting sales of a book. I do appreciate it. Thanks for buying it. And hopefully down the road, you do, because book 2 will be coming out in the summertime. So you got to get 1 before you get 2, right? Speaking of, I'm going to bring up Brandi here, and I'm just going to go quickly over our lineups once again. We have Mondays, this Texas Front Porch, 7 Central, 8 East on Monday. Tuesdays, Beyond BMR with myself and the lovely Krista. Tuesday nights, 8 Central, 9 in the East. Wednesdays is the Diva Dimension on Texas Front Porch. Thursdays, Brunch with Bigfoot, Michigan Rob. I don't know who's going to be joining me come the first of the year. I don't know. It might just be Rob. It might be Brandi. I don't think it's Krista. And I don't know where Texas is going to be. Texas got a lot going on. I don't know. Blondes and Booze Paranormal Podcast goes on Thursday and Friday nights, 8 Central, 9 in East. Please check them out. They always have entertaining stuff from the paranormal to cryptids. They cover pretty much what we all do, Brandi. And what I love about our evolving of our channels, we're not just dedicated to one specific genre.
No.
You know, we talk. I started out cryptids, but I'm into the paranormal, ufology, aliens, time travel. So there's as Dave would say, a plethora of things on our channel, much like his channel out there. Much love to Dave once again, good buddy. And so again, thanks for coming in. And of course, you know, we got the conference coming up in June, which is exciting. It's always exciting to meet new people and frolic about. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you know, and what's cool about that, Rob, is we finally get to meet face to face.
You know, we do.
I know.
I've known you guys for now almost. How long have I known you guys? Like
over a year now. Yeah.
You know, and you know, it was so unfortunate. Remember last year, you guys were in Michigan for that conference with the dog
It-
conference.
yeah,
I was
potographs for pooches. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I was planning on going, meeting the lovely Brandi and Krista. And that week was terrible because I had lost power, if you recall, Brandi, and
Yep.
I had frozen pipes. They busted a day or two before I was supposed to go to Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is where it was held. And I was looking so forward to meeting you guys, but I just, couldn't do it. A few
I know.
$1,000s later, regardless of insurance, I had to take care of that mess.
Yeah.
So
It was a total mess. I mean, we got there early because we knew the snow was coming, but we didn't think it was going to be that bad.
yeah. But you know what? You guys got pounded with snow.
We
I
did.
you know?
They had to come
More
dig us out. We couldn't leave.
that would yeah, I wish God so missed that. That would have been fun though. I like winter storms. Not for travel though, and you guys had
Yeah,
to
well,
drive all the way back to Missouri.
what made it cool is because we had thunder snow. Krista had never ever in her life had seen thunder snow.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like,
It,
isn't it cool?
it is very cool. And when you experience the thunder snow, I heard it here, and I think you guys were about 45 or 50 miles away. But isn't
Yeah,
that the sun? Can you imagine like the roar of my Bigfoot, the thunder snow? That's a good analogy. The thunder snow, right?
thunder
'Cause
snow.
I heard that 50. We heard it. We were 50 miles apart. We all heard it at the same time. Pretty cool.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we were in the hotel. Now, the hotel that sat next to us, I think it was the Hampton. I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But because of the snow and stuff, they were completely out of power. But luckily, we weren't. But during the thunder snow, guess what? We went out of power. So um, we were enjoying adult beverages and just sitting there watching it snow outside. So
Yeah. There's nothing like a cold adult beverage in the cold in the winter. Go figure
I
that
know,
one out.
I know.
I love spending time in the snow during a snowstorm, pounding a beer. I don't know why. You should have
It's one of those things. That's what we were doing. We were enjoying adult beverages and just watching it snow in the dark.
yeah, yeah. That's a cool pastime here in Michigan, because in Michigan, I imagine Missouri gets not quite like we do, but that's a pastime, and we've got all the trails where you can take your snowmobiles, you call them sleds, and drive around. There's a place called Tip Up Town in northern central Michigan. And there's a bunch of bars lying there. And when Houghton Lake is frozen solid, about good 3.5, 4 feet thick, all these guys that live there, or you can go up there and spend a vacation in a cottage, and you can take your sleds up to all these bars. It's like lined with bars. Now, the downside is driving a sled, drinking in the winter. I don't recommend it. So you got to have a designated sled driver, because it gets out of hand, but it's a fabulous time. I love the summer. I love hanging out, getting a suntan, drinking a cold beer. But I got to tell you, something about 4 feet of snow, a big bonfire, cool people sitting around telling stories. That to me is where it's at. You got to make the best of the winter.
Absolutely right. Well, Lil Petty asked if we're going to have snow in Missouri this year for Christmas. No, we're going to have rain if nothing else. We're going to, it's going to be an ugly Christmas outside, but thank God we got everything beautiful on the inside so we can enjoy a good Christmas anyway.
Yep. And my buddy Gemini Moon, she's a Michigander. She's north of me. I think Port Huron. Yeah,
Hmm.
she says a thunderstorm. She remembers it too, Brandy. Yeah, that thunderstorm was wild. A foot of snow on the way to the conference. I think you met Gemini
Yes,
Moon.
I
I think
did.
you
Well,
did.
yeah,
I
she came, she was able to make it.
Well, she didn't have frozen pipes. I'm never gonna live this down, I guess. It doesn't matter. You should have been there. I should have got a babysitter, I guess, to watch the pipes. I didn't want the plumbers to rip me off.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's
You
true.
know, my
I can
brother was
understand that.
working, and I wasn't gonna have my mom here because they
Right.
will, she's 77 years old, and she's as you get older, you're more apt to saying yes, okay, you know what I mean? Not like, "What do you mean?" and question everything. Although my mom's sharp. She's sharp, and she probably wouldn't have turned it into a $10,000 bill, but I have confidence in her.
Right. Right.
So,
I
but
wanted to
yeah.
um I
Yeah,
wanted to
go ahead.
address something though. While we're just sitting here
Yeah.
talking, there Shelly's out there, and she was talking about having a swirling mist going through her house.
Oh, okay.
Um, and she said that it went down the hallway and all this other kind of thing. I have never personally have seen that in a home. I have not. But
Yes.
I want to say that it sounds like something was trying to manifest.
Yes.
And maybe that's all it could do at that point is just become a fog or something like that. Now, Rob, you've had that kind of happen in your
Yes,
house.
I did, Shelly, and, yeah, I knew you were segueing into that because Shelly, and those listening, I this happened 2 times, maybe a third to 2 times for sure. I would, there's a section in my home where it's kinda like my television room. I got a nice recliner, and when I'm ready to kick back and watch some TV, that's where I go, and I'm the type of guy at nighttime, I will watch kind of scary stuff, right? It doesn't matter the subject, I'll watch it. So I'm in my recliner. I'm fully awake. I'm watching whatever the program was. And all of a sudden I got a chill came over me, and I happen to look to my left and there's a hallway that comes down from where the area where I was watching TV. And then hovering up coming down the hallway, everybody, and for you particularly, Shelley, there was mist, like a grayish mist, and it started rolling slowly down the hallway, and it hovered maybe 8 to 10 inches above the ground, and it's coming down the hallway at me. And I can see this. I'm fully awake. And I immediately jump up at this time because I'm thinking, oh no, because another 40 feet down around the corner is my furnace. And I'm thinking that, and I can't smell anything, but I'm thinking, man, what's going on? Is there some sort of fire that I'm not aware of? So I kind of, I run through this mist or whatever it was rolling down the hallway, and I get into the back area where the furnace is, and well, everything's fine. There's no fire. There's no smoke coming from the furnace. And what was peculiar too, though, was when I did run through the mist, it kind of evaporated. It was gone. So again, I go back. I'm like, and I'm kind of tripping a little bit here. I'm like, I know I'm awake. I'm not dreaming. I seen this, and I know I saw this. So I was a little uptight all night, and I know I did not sleep this night just because of that. I was worried, and I was just going to call the in the morning, I was just gonna call the gas company or electric company and just come out anyways, because I cannot account for what this was. I go back, I sit again in the chair. 30 minutes go by, and all of a sudden, this mist starts rolling down the hallway again. Now it gets much, much worse because as I'm sitting in the recliner, it gets up on top of the recliner, and this mist starts swirling around my recliner. And all of a sudden now I'm paralyzed, much like how I was paralyzed during my Bigfoot encounter, right? I can't yell out. I can't scream. I can't move my arms, my legs. All I can do is move my eyes, roll them around, and I'm rolling, looking down at this mist swirling about my chair. And I'm fully awake. I can look straight ahead, see the TV functioning, whatever program it was. I'm awake. No one's in my house, but I try to yell out anyway. Just to yell, just to can't do that. This seemed to go on forever. Then finally, the sun rose, and I woke up. I must have fallen asleep, very scared. I got on the phone with some people. A couple months later, the same thing happens again. And again, it's late at night. I'm watching something spooky on TV, and it's happening. And now I'm even more petrified, swirling about the chair, frozen again. Then I started saying the Our Father. Because the previous night, it seemed like it went on throughout the night, right? This time I started saying the prayer, the Lord's Prayer. And immediately after I started speaking and praying, it went away. I was very relieved, but then, Brandi, dude, I got some demonic entity in my house. What did I do? Am I manifesting this by watching these programs? Am I manifesting this because I talk about strange stuff on a podcast? Am I bringing this on myself? Talk to people ad nauseum, very different opinions, theories, whatever. I was suggested maybe I cleanse my house, get a whatever. Maybe there's something in there. And you all know the story about all the things I brought home back when I was married into my house. Those collectibles that had some malevolent force about them, or negative energy, I should say. Let's not go that. Let's just not say that. Yeah, Duke says mystified. Yeah, definitely was mystified. But I got to tell you something. I don't say this publicly very often. I believe in God. I don't go to church, stuff like that, right? But when I said the Lord's Prayer and this went away, I made that a part of my nightly regimen to not forget about Jesus, right? I'm not a Jesus guy. I mean, hey, listen, we all have our beliefs. I believe in God. I grew up Catholic. I am Catholic. Church every day for 5 days for 8 years. I started incorporating that into my life, right? Just saying prayers at night. Bless my family, watch over us, pray for those that are reaching out to you. And, ever since I started doing that, though, I have not had that happen again to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I always believe, but now it's something I do because there was a period for a couple of months, Brandi, where I couldn't sleep because I was scared to go to sleep. I've told you about the weird dreams I've had
Mm-hmm. Yes,
where I
you
think
have.
I'm awake. And I don't know if that is sleep paralysis. I kind of know what that is. I had that one dream, always being lost, it's always like in Las Vegas. I know Las Vegas, some of the hotels like the back of my hand, but I'm lost. And then my parents, my father who's passed away is trying to call out to me to show me how to get out of there. And my brother. And then all of a sudden it turns dark, but then I wake up because I physically wake myself up somehow. In my mind, I say, "Get up, Rob, get up," because it goes very dark, these dreams. And 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 again, I haven't had those in a long time, and I'm the type of guy that has dreams. I can have a part one and part two dream. You're like, if I'm
Mm-hmm.
having a creepy dream and I snap out of it, the next night, the dream continues from where it left off. I mean, I've had all sorts of weird. I'm a cryptid guy, but I've had more paranormal shit happen to me than anything. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, I don't think it's the movies and things that you watch
Yeah.
and the stuff you talk
No, I
about.
don't think so either. I've been doing
I
that my whole life. Why all of a
but
sudden within since I started doing a podcast?
yeah, but I'm not thinking that it's not part of it.
Yeah.
What you're doing, my opinion is what you're doing is you're watching these things, and if you have third eye, that third eye is just opening because you're opening yourself up to other things, of believing in other things, or seeing other things. And I mean, it's not the cause, but it
Right.
doesn't help it either. I think when we watch these things, sometimes we get so engrossed in these movies that it's like you're almost living it. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but
No,
it's kind of like,
I understand what you're saying.
yeah, but it's kind of like you're living this movie, and I think that sometimes that helps in just opening up that it's turning the light on, Rob, is what it's doing. It's like, ting, hello.
Yeah.
It's opening yourself up. By the time you're talking about it, you're watching it, you're seeing the podcast, you're, da da da, you hear the stories, and it's
Yeah.
like there it is.
And and again, I can't blame it on doing a podcast now for the last couple of years because, as you well know, a lot of people probably in chat know, I've had all sorts of strange encounters with the paranormal
Hmm.
or ghosts since I was a little boy, right?
Hmm.
And it's kind of followed me from childhood to marriage when I got married, my bar. I mean, I've always had ghostly things. I've had time loss on the boat. Remember,
Hmm.
that story, and then of course the the climax is of course having my Bigfoot encounter.
Hmm. Hmm. Well, they say
And
if
and
you're paranormal, if you have the paranormal going on in your life, which I always have, and it sounds like you always had, a lot of people are putting these together and saying that would make your Bigfoot encounter easier. I wouldn't say easier, but more
no,
likely to happen.
more likely to happen. Yes.
Yeah, more likely to happen if the paranormal is in your life. Like I said, it's all an opinion.
Yeah, it's in our lives. Well, no, well, it's opinion, but it's very valid and has substance to it because I do find that people that have any sort of high strangeness, we'll say, happen to them, they are more apt to have these things over and over again, right?
Right.
You know, I know there's researchers in the field, and Duke knows this, that have been doing it for 30 years on the search of Bigfoot.
Yep.
People we know, but never seen one ever, and they're looking for it. And I think there's a difference. I didn't give a crap about looking for Bigfoot ever in my life. I didn't care about looking for ghosts ever in my life, right?
Right.
But they showed themselves to me because I think if you want to go, if your objective is going to woods and find a ghost, or your objective is going to woods and find Bigfoot, ain't gonna happen. They know what you're up to. It's always when you're at your least susceptible. I think
Right.
you know.
Right. In a lot of for me, getting out in the woods and looking for the signs and all that, we do that. I'm not going to say we don't.
Right.
But the thing is when we're out there and have this camaraderie thing happening, and we're just talking amongst ourselves and just doing normal stuff, that's when I have, more action. I'm just going to say more action
Yeah.
is when we're not paying attention, is when things happen, especially in the paranormal field. I get more evidence by just sitting and talking with somebody about something non-related, and most of the interaction comes in as they're trying to talk with us during this whole conversation. And I get a lot of EVPs like that, like they're just jumping in the conversation, like they're just sitting in a chair talking with us.
Yeah. And I think there's a difference too. Like if you're going out just to look, okay, whatever. But like you just said, when you do this, but you're nonchalant about it. You're not like being all over gung ho. If you have the
No.
attitude, I could care less if I see anything. But you know what I'm gonna do? Now, 5 years later, if I happen to be in the woods, I look for evidence. And a Bigfoot will know that I kind of want to see it again because I think they can pick up on your thoughts, your perception, what you have
Well,
going on.
yeah,
Just like a ghost or
right.
or any of these paranormal things.
Right, but I may be out in the field somewhere, and I've got my backpack on, I've got all my gear, but you know what I'd like to do? As I like to rock hunt. Everybody knows that about me, is I like to rock hunt. And I will do that,
Yeah,
and while I'm doing rock hunting, like I'm doing something else, I will look around for stuff.
sure. It's funny because until you're made aware of certain things and I won't say buy into a subject matter, but it's funny because when this happened to me, and my brother's an avid hunter, 20, 25 years now. And he knows about my encounter, my experiences. He watches the show. He's a subscriber. He digs it now, right? And he's like,
Right.
and now, he's open to today is he'll go hunting and he'll call me, or when he gets back, he will document certain things he's seen and ask my opinion. He'll take a picture. Hey, I seen this, it was weird. This 3-inch branch, it was snapped in two. And, it was not snowfall. It wasn't from the weather or the
Mhm.
environment. I mean, it was a clean break. It was about 6, 7, 8 feet up, and it's natural and it's new because you can see there was even sap inside of the bark, inside of the branch. Like he goes, "There's no way you can break that. You think that's like a Bigfoot or something?" I'm like, maybe, maybe not. I don't know, but there's no other real explanation in my mind. I don't want to I don't want to say yes, it was, because I don't
Right.
know. But what does that? Boom. I mean, so things like that. He looks for tracks. Not only when he's hunting, he kind of looks for Bigfoot tracks. So it's kind of cool that he's into it now. And I told the story about when he lined up that deer, Brandy. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember the story. My brother, he's hunting in the woods. This is like 2 years ago. He lines up a deer and he takes a shot. He hits it. He tracks it for 100 yards or whatever. And then he comes upon and he follows the blood trail. Then the blood trail stops at this big, big tree in the middle of the forest, middle of the woods. And he sees the indentation of where the deer fell. And I trust what he says. He's been doing he knows how to track. He knows where the deer fall, the impression it lays. He goes, "What in the hell? Okay, it fell here. It fell here." And he's looking around. He goes, "Rob, there's not a hunter in sight. There was nobody on a four-wheeler that snatched it and you would have heard it come through." He's going through all these scenarios, how the deer got taken, right? There's no tracks, there's nothing. And then he looks at the base of the tree and he looks up. And there's a trail of blood that was drug up this tree a good 7, 8 feet. But then all of a sudden, right before the branches are starting to stick out from the tree, then all of a sudden the blood trail stops. So he's looking around, he can't find anything, and he's looking around the perimeter of the meadow or where this tree was. He's just looking for signs of broken down brush or was dragged through, looking for human prints, just looking for anything that could put in his mind what had happened. He said he came up empty. What do you think? Do you think it was Bigfoot? Did he like take the deer up and then all of a sudden he swung out like a monkey from tree to tree and got out, skedaddle? I said, good question. I don't know. I'm thinking Bigfoot, to be honest, but I'm not thinking he swung out of there. I'm thinking he metamorphosized or he just kind of transported, because I do believe in this. I didn't believe in this either a long time ago. I think in the forest, trees serve as portals for Bigfoot or anything. I think trees are alive. Trees are how I like to say, I refer to the forest now as the internet of the woods. You can go anywhere in the woods, right? And I think there are portals in the woods, and I think living trees, I think they serve. I've heard way too many stories about Bigfoot manifesting out of trees, right? I've taken many stories like that. I think there's something about the forest. I think there's something about trees. They say that Bigfoot is a protector of the forest. Well, I think the trees themselves are protectors of the forest. These elementals of the forest, they're all about us. We just don't know about them because 90% of the people in the world aren't interested in the topic we're talking about, right? So you don't think about it. I had a guy tell me that on his own property, about 5 acres of hunting property. He knows it like the back of his hand. He's telling me one day, Rob, it was the weirdest thing. I'm on my property that I've lived on for 20 years. And damn it, I got lost on my own property I was walking about and I all of a sudden did not recognize anything. Didn't recognize anything about his land. He said he was in a foreign forest. And then before you know it, he panicked. He starts running around. He said his compass was off. And he said he had a manual compass and such. I don't think he had a phone with the compass on it or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he now all of a sudden recognizes his land again. What happened to him? Was that a time loss thing? Was that a portal? There's so many things that are mysterious about the forest, not just Bigfoot or cryptids. The forest itself is mysterious.
I agree. Totally agree.
You know, I mean, just what I love about doing shows and having the experience now. I think the thing that you can talk to people about, I think today I'm more aware of my surroundings, wherever it may be.
I am too. I am too. Absolutely. More aware of surroundings. It's because, like I said, that very up close and personal encounter has made me feel a whole
Yeah.
different type of way when it comes to cryptids.
Yeah,
And
and you think about it, Brandy, I've known you guys a year, you guys never had a cryptid encounter, Bigfoot encounter. And you and Chris are like, yeah, I'd love to see one, love to see one. I'm like, well, if it happens, it happens when we're all talking. It's really cool though that you guys really came across something. And now you can more relate more than ever when you do a show or talk to people because now you get it. Yeah, you believed in, I'm sure, Brandy, you believed that Bigfoot existed for all people listening to me. But boy, now you can call yourself a knower. You know they're out there
yeah,
because you had
I'm a
firsthand
definite knower.
experience.
Now
Yeah.
I did have a type of encounter with Tex when we were in Brown Springs, but this figure was so far away. But again, middle of the night, moonlight, and you can see it walking. A very strange thing, but it changes. That encounter was terrific, magnificent. I thought it was the best thing ever. And plus we even got bluff charged later. It was great, but
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it.
I love that. We got bluff charged. It was great. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah. No,
I thought we were all going to die, but hey,
yeah, you're right.
it was great. But there's something else about seeing something that close that really, it changes your life. It because at first, I mean, I've said this before, even though I'm intrigued by Bigfoot and dogmen and all other cryptids and all of this other kind of stuff and the paranormal, but when it came to that encounter, that close encounter, very close,
Yeah.
I thought to myself at first, I was having a hard time dealing with it, because I couldn't say anything about it, because of a whole, I had to sign an NDA and all kinds of stuff, and we had to wait for all the legal mumbo
Yeah.
jumbo to go through.
Yeah.
Anyway, but during that time, I'm thinking to myself, do I want to become one of those people who other people think are crazy?
Right.
Do I really want to be that person?
Yeah.
And then I had a while to think about it, and then I'm like, heck yeah,
Okay.
because nobody's going to
Absolutely.
tell me anything different. Nobody's going to tell me that it didn't happen. Nobody's going to say nothing, because I know for a fact that this happened.
That's a great thing. What I always like to preach, what I talk about is I don't put anybody down. I listen to everybody's story. We never walked in these people's shoes. Far-fetched story or not, there's some semblance to everyone's story. Sure, you get
Mm.
a story, some tells you an encounter that maybe it's skewed a little bit, but I do believe I believe most people, you're not going to, hey, listen, you come on my show or the people I put in my book, you're not getting 15 minutes of fame. Everybody in the book's anonymous. or in anonymity. When you come on a show, what's the 15 seconds going to do? So I'm one of the people that I do believe what people tell me. Now, of course, I can discern between, my puppy dog turned into Bigfoot. Okay, well, sorry, but that didn't happen. Okay, or did it? You know what I'm saying? So
I do. I
it's
do. I do understand what you're saying. It
you
just
know, it's
amazes me. The whole thing amazes me to no end,
yeah,
Oh, by the way, somebody was asking
yeah.
what's the best rock I found
Okay, yeah,
when I've been out there looking, and I'm just going to tell you really quick. It is a red banded calcite with terminated clear crystal, uh, quartz crystals, and this thing is about that big. And I drug it home. I drug several pieces home with me. That's the best thing I found. I mean, I would like to find something that, is a lot of money, but yeah,
yeah. So is there a lot of money in rocks?
there is. Especially when you get down to, of course, your precious stones and things like
Yeah.
that. But other things are rare, and I mean, there's just a whole bunch. There's too many to go through. It's just amazing. There's a lot of money in crystals, a lot of money.
Where do you find granite rock yet? Now, granite I know is expensive. Like people have a granite countertop in their kitchen. That's a lot of bucks. Where do you find granite here?
I don't really know where they're pulling that from. I've never been
I
on the
know.
hunt for granite.
No, I know you're not. I thought maybe you might know because I know that a lot of granite is imported from Africa.
Yeah, if I could find it, believe me, I'd have all
I
countertops,
know you would.
bathtubs, floors.
The favorite rock I like to go on a hunt with. We should go, Brandy, one day. Let's go look for diamonds.
Right. Right. Well, I heard in Arkansas they have a diamond mine where you can dig for them.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're all over. We can just get out there,
yeah.
grab a little shovel and go
And,
to it.
and just retire. Be done with it.
Right.
Still do the podcast, but
Yeah, I'd like to find a 3-pound diamond. Sure.
you know, wear it around your neck. You're like hunching over wherever you walk. Or put on
Right.
your hand. You know how a lot of
Right.
women put a fake ring because they want men to think they're married, but they just do it anyway, just to say "leave me alone" type of thing. Put a big five
Right.
ounce rock on your left ring finger.
Right.
Well, Brandy, I got this party I'm starting today in about 2 hours, so I got
I
time to do
know.
that, and which is cool. Everybody in chat, Dave Scott, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for those that participate and watch. I do want to take this time, however, to really thank my audience that comes in the chat room. I want to thank the people that watch later, that don't go in chat. You're all family to me. I appreciate the views, the subscriptions, the super chats, donations, buying the book. Without you guys, I wouldn't have a show because I do this for you guys. I do it for myself. I'm not going to lie because I do love doing this each and every Tuesday and Thursday and on the weekends with my videos. And I do want to tell everybody because it's going to be Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody because I won't be back on until Tuesday. So Merry Christmas. I really appreciate your support, your love, the comments, the zone we have, no controversy in chat. Everybody's cool in chat. My lovely moderators, starting with Lily Pond on down, just do a fantastic job. And I really do appreciate the audience. I love you guys. And when I say that, I'm not just saying that because coming from me, I mean it because I started this 5 years ago. I had an experience that I'll never forget, and it turned me on this new path. So thank you to everybody that are subscribers and listen. I love you all. Brandy,
Yes.
what you got tonight, though? I forgot. What's going on
Actually, tonight we have Heather Mosier from Small Town Monsters. We're going to go over a book. It's called The Man from the Train. And it is about an axe murderer that would use the train system to go find his victims. And it's quite a thing. in the Villisca Axe Murder House, which is of course located in Iowa, is one of the major stories in it, of course. But this book is amazing. This book is amazing because you just won't believe how many people this guy killed over like 13 years.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm gonna have to watch the replay. I'm gonna tune in tonight, and I'll have you on my phone just to give you the view. I
Right.
don't know my state of mind at 9 o'clock tonight.
Well, you
But
just watch it whenever you can.
well, I'll watch the replay. I'll put you on the computer while we're all getting together for our little family Christmas gathering. And again, Merry Christmas to everybody. Appreciate each and every single one of you. And until next time, for Brandi and BMR, Merry Christmas. We'll see you Tuesday.